Alright, here we are in Nuke, and before we start, I want to say that I'm everything but an expert in Nuke. I started to use it very recently just for my personal projects, so for this part there's a high chance that you know better than me, so consider this. Now, first we want to set our project, so press S to bring up the project setting. On the root panel, we want to set our FPS. Mine is 25 per second and our resolution is Full HD. Also for the frame range, we have a sequence going from 1 to 350. Now we need to import our sequence in Nuke, so we need a read node. To create a node in Nuke, either you press tab and type the name of the node you want to create, or you just press right click on the node graph and look for the node between the categories. Here you can also see that certain nodes has a shortcut. In this case we need a read node, so we can just press R on the node graph and this will automatically create a read node. Now we need to look for the sequence we rendered. It was here on the render folder. And as you can see, the cryptomat comes within a different sequence from the other AOV. So let's first take the main sequence, press open, and this will import the sequence inside Nuke. To view it on the viewer, which as you can see here, it's viewer 1, meaning is this one, either you manually connect it to the node we created or you select the node and press 1. This will automatically bind it to the viewer 1. So now we do have our full sequence here, and if you want to improve the playback speed, here you can set the quality. When it says 1 by 1, you can say 1 by 4, it will be a quarter of the full resolution and it will be faster to play. So as you can see, even if we still have to split the different IOV, the colors are weird. And this is because we didn't tell Nuke to use OCIO. Now, before we fix it, let me just create a bunch of grade nodes. As you can see here, between the properties, by default Nuke, it will open the properties of 10 object maximum at the same time as it states here. And I honestly don't like this way, so let's delete all of this, and I want to set the properties tab to be max 1. So it will only show the properties of the last node I will select. I prefer this way, but it's totally up to you. So we want to press S to bring up the project setting, and here, when it says color, we want to switch from Nuke to OCIO. And here you can set the different OCIO config file. I want to set it to custom, so I can point it to the same config file I was using for rendering. So I will click here to browse. Usually it's in documents if you didn't change the default installation for OCIO. So it's here on the open color folder and it's this 1.0.3 and here's the file config.ocio. So we want to open this. And now we have the same color we had in Houdini. Now we want to start to composite the shot. The concept behind it is to separate all the different IOV we created in Redshift so we can apply individually operation to those, and then we can merge those IOV back together so we can achieve exactly the look we want for the shot. Now to extract the different IOV from an EXR sequence, we want a shuffle node. So let's press tab and type shuffle. And here on the input layer, as you can see, we have the RGB channel and also the different IOV. So let's set this first one to the diffuse IOV. And as you can see, we have the diffuse lightning. Now a little tip, if you go on the node panel here, you can write stuff inside this label. You can write stuff in here, and if you type between square brackets value in 1, this will show the name of the IOV we are extracting here in the node name, and it's very convenient when you will have complex setup. Now let's duplicate this node for each IOV we have, and also you can control and click on a connection to lay down a dot to organize your workflow better. So I will do something like this. And now let's create the copies for our shuffles. So this one will be the specular lightning. This will be my reflection. Then I will have my volume lightning and my emission here. So if you press 1 and check the various IOV, you can see that we have all the information. Of course, the emission now is black because at the start of it, there's nothing to emit from. So back on frame 1, now we want to start to combine this IOV back together. We are going to do it with a merge node. So press M on the node graph, which is the shortcut for this merge node. And we want to merge the diffuse and the specular. On the setting here, we want to change the operation to plus. So let's press 1 on this node. And as you can see, compared to the diffuse, now we added also the specular IOV. Now we want to do the same thing for the reflection and the volume IOV. So let's duplicate this merge. We will plug the first input to the previous merge and the other to the reflection. So here we added also the reflection, and we want to do the same thing for our volume lighting. So let's plug this other merge. So now we have everything back together except the emission. We will take care of that later on. First, we want to tweak this separated IOV. So we will use a grade for that, and the shortcut to create one is G. And as you can see now, we can operate on the separate channels of our composition. So let's make sure you have the viewer on the last merge node, and let's see. For this diffuse IOV, let's just decrease the multiply value a little bit, so we're introducing more of a dark value. And let's create another grade for the specular. So let's see, maybe here we can increase the gain, so we're getting some brighter value, and we can also control the individual color of each parameter. Let's say for this multiply, we want to click here, and this will bring up the color wheel. And maybe we want to tweak it to introduce it a little more blue. Let's say something like this. So you can press D on a node to disable that node, so you can quickly see the comparison between with and without that operation. Now let's create another grade for our reflection, and let's see. On this one, we want to increase the multiply a little bit. We want to crank this reflection up. And on the gain, maybe we can introduce something of a red value this time. So let's see. Something like this. As always, you can see the comparison. Maybe I introduced it too much, and I want to decrease this multiply a little bit. Yeah, better. Now let's create another grade for the volume lighting. And for this one also you can press 1 to see what the current grade is doing if you do it on the grade node. Let's see, on this one we want to lower it, this volume lighting. Let's put the display flag on the merge again. And let's give it a little bit of blue as well. So something like this. It was too strong for the volume lighting before. So now we have our basic compositing done, and it's time to merge back the emission channel. So here, if we display the emission, the problem is we have the plexus and the emission material together with the particles. And I want to tweak those separately, so we are going to use that cryptomat IOB we created to split these different objects. So first we want to import the cryptomat sequence, so press R to bring up a new read node. And let's look for the sequence. Here it is, cryptomat. So open it. And right now everything will be black, because again the cryptomat is not a format meant to be viewed as a regular image. So now we want to create a cryptomat node and plug it to the sequence. Now if we display this, we will see Let's put it 1 to 1 for quality. We can see the different cryptomatte values, and if you remember, those are based on the different materials we had in the scene. Now, by default, we are not isolating anything. The different colors you see are just for visualization. In this node, we have to pick the object we want to isolate. So let's say we want to take this glow material. Either we can control and click on that color. So as you can see, the list on the left will be populated with that object ID, in this case is the material, and you can also manually add the name of the material in this case we want to isolate. So let's say we want to take also the plexus material. You can see that immediately the plexus will be added to the selection. Now we can use a merge node, so let's press M, and this time we just want to plug the first input here, and we want to use this cryptomatte value as a mask. So here on the right of the node, we connect it to the cryptomatte, and as you can see, we don't have the particles anymore. Now we want to add some glow to the plexus and the emission material. And Nuke does have a glow filter by default, but I prefer to use the AP Glow, which is a separate node. You can download it here from Nukepedia, and it's totally free. You have to create an account to download it, but it's free. Once you downloaded the node, you just need to go to File, Insert Comp Node, and look for the node. I have it mine in Nuke, and here AP Glow, the file.gizmo. So here it is. Now we want to plug the merge in the image input of our AP Glow and display it. So let's see for the setting. Maybe we want to increase the intensity, let's say something like 2, and decrease the persistence. Let's say something like this. Also, we want to confine it a little bit, so let's decrease the max size until we have something like this, and maybe tweak the sides fall off a little bit. Now let's take care of the particles. So we want to duplicate this cryptomatte node, connect it to the sequence, and this time we want to clear the list and pick the particles. So now let's put things in an organized way. We want to duplicate this merge node, and this one will take our emission with the particles, the plexus, and the emission material, but will be filtered by this new cryptomatte. So here we have just the particles. Let's reconnect the glow to the emission material, and let's move this further on the right, let's say here. So here we have the emission material and the plexus. Now we want to apply the glow to the particles. So let's duplicate this AP glow and connect it to the merge. And this will be too strong by itself. If you remember, we output in the rendering with some very bright value. For the plexus and the glow material, it was fine when we applied the glow, but right now we need to get the color value back. So before the glow, let's put a grade node here and display the grade, and let's say we want to decrease the multiply and also the gain until we have some of the color back. Also decrease the gamma a little bit, let's say something like this, and now let's display the glow. For the glow, we want to decrease the intensity this time, but crank up the persistence. And also we want to lower the response. Let's say something like this. But this time we don't want just the effect as it states here. We want also the particles. So uncheck this box and we have something like this. Now let's go back to the grade, and we want to decrease the multiply a little bit more because right now it's too white on the most populated part. And we want to make a copy of this glow. I also want to have an underlying glow with a bigger radius. So let's copy this glow and plug it to the grade also. For this one, let's see, increase the intensity to something very high, like 9.5, and also the persistence all the way up to 10. Now, this time we want effect only, so check this. And now we want to increase the source white until we left only with the brightest area. Let's say something like this, and lower the response as well. And we still have the max size value coming from the first glow we created because we copied the node. So let's crank it up all the way up, and also for the first glow. So now we need to merge these two glow together. Press M to bring a merge node, and let's merge these two guys together. Let's set it to screen. It shouldn't make much difference. Now we want to merge it with the glow coming from the emission and the plexus, so lay down another merge node, and let's merge these two guys together. Also here, let's set it to screen, and let's align those nodes a little bit better. Now we need to merge it with the main compositing chain, so let's lay down our final merge node and plug it to the incoming glow. Let's set also this one to screen, and now we have our full compositing done. Now, you may have noticed you have a dotted rectangle here. It says 2021-1181, and this means that there's some footage somewhere that is exceeding your composition resolution. Now, if you display the merge node, as you can see, we don't have that problem here, and it's coming from the glow. So after the final merge, we want to drop down a reformat node. Let's connect it to the final merge. Let's display it, and already with the default setting, the reformat node trimmed our composition in the correct resolution. So now all we need to do is to lay down a bright node. This is the node we want to use to output a sequence. So we want to plug the bright node in the reformat, and here you have to specify the output file. We will call it planet.cc, and for the frame padding you need to use the hash symbol. So hash symbols how many times you want, and then the format we want to export in PNG this time, and I put a comma instead of a point. For the output transform, we don't care about color profile anymore, we just want to output the straight sRGB. So let's go to color space, output, and choose output sRGB. Now we just need to press the render button. Here you can specify a frame range, we want the entire animation. So just click OK, and it will start to render the sequence. Alright, rendering is done, and everything seems to work properly. So we basically done. We created our full CG shot in Houdini, and it really was a massive effort from me, so I really hope you will appreciate this content. Of course, don't forget to drop down a subscribe or a like, those are always appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one.